Hi. A while back, I saw a documentary on aging, and in one scene, the elderly were visiting this model senior center, and they were not doing too much of anything, maybe playing cards, eating what looked like pretty bad food, and getting help having their laundry done. And I think it looked like a pretty good way to be in a community on a regular basis if need be, and better to do that than not, I think. But it felt like some of them were just marking time, like that was their whole life, was going to the center and getting the laundry done, and sometimes that is life, is getting your laundry done. But it started to make me wonder, and I thought, could this be a big waste of genius? I don't know. Well, I live in a community that has a community center of its own, and I visit that place myself to do painting. I'm in a watercolor class, and I started just kind of keeping an eye on all the people around me, and I saw a huge range of people, mature people, and how they handled their lives as mature people. And there were some of us who were trying to fill time, where they were like Edith in Downton Abbey, where Granny told her, Edith, for heaven's sakes, do something. And there was a couple of guys there whose wives insisted that they find something to do after they had retired. And I thought, wow, these what a waste of genius. Most of these people were pretty sharp. A lot of them had some real specific talents, and some of them were pursuing those talents, and some of them were not. And it was interesting that our customs don't really prescribe anything for people, or give them too much. Maybe they do give them too much choice, but it can be very difficult to find that path when you're mature. If you're not working a lot, if you had a side gig or something, it's much easier. If you had a hobby, it's much easier. But I'm not even sure that those things are as big and juicy as they should be for seniors. I think that many of us are considered diminished people, and that's really not what's happening. So imagine what it would be like if on retirement we were charged with going and creating what we failed at before. Imagine that the custom was to correct your biggest mistake. I should have gone into this field and I didn't. Now's my chance to do it. What if retirement was the time when you could pursue those dreams you really wanted to pursue, and never mind making a living or apologizing to your parents or anything like that? I think this would be so much healthier for some of us, maybe not all, but for many of us, to really pursue. I always wanted this, and now I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to, maybe I'm going to fail, maybe I'm going to succeed, but it'll be so interesting and such a big deal and so exciting to do this. So I think the first thing, of course, you would have to do is consider it not a failure, but a missed opportunity. I know my grandparents did this later in life. They had a brilliant life, and a lot of it was because they did the things they always wanted to do, My grandmother had always wanted to be an artist, and she'd been a housewife, and she lived in a time when being a housewife was a full-time job, and she couldn't be a full-time artist. And so she didn't feel apologetic about it. She just knew that now that I got time, I'm doing this. And when they retired, she began studying art full time. She began training intensely in whatever tweaked her fancy. And my grandfather had longed for days outdoors again, and traded his auto company job for a life of growing his own food and hunting and fishing and training future farmers and things like that. And they both were incredibly healthy, and I think it was partly because of the kinds of things that they were doing. They weren't filling time any more than most of us do, but they were doing things that they had always wanted to do. I have a friend, Diane, who had a side gig selling antiques, and when she could retire financially, she had total fun bringing buyers and sellers together on her own terms. The part of it she liked, she dismissed the parts of it she didn't like. If you check out somebody like actor John Nettles from Midsummer Murders, he is providing sanctuary for donkeys now, and writing on World War II history, and pretty up there in years, but very, very productive. And he looks like he's having the time of his life when you see him with his donkeys. So, I think some of us are already doing this, but I think some of us could benefit from really looking at what is that dream? What is that dream I let go of? And can I go back to it now? What is that thing I didn't have time to do? Or I couldn't explain it to my parents? Or I couldn't explain it to my friends? Sometimes I couldn't explain it to myself. And go back to it and see if we can do it now. I think basically what we're talking about here is, for aging, we pursue the love we didn't know how to pursue before. And I say it that way for a reason. It's not just that I liked watercolors. It's that, I had a love for something and I couldn't build that love into my life. And now perhaps I can. And I think it would be very worthwhile for most of us to look at that. To create change, most of us have been taught problem solving all our lives. That's a great problem, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but problem solving is not great for making something new and exciting. So if you've been doing a job where you were a renowned problem solver, I was, you get really good at that. But I don't want to solve problems now. I want to create something different. I want to create something new. So instead of responding to circumstances, we compromise a lot to get along. We respond to circumstances. We compromise sometimes to get along. And we have to do that. We have to compromise to get along. It's what makes the world work. But we follow this procedure. We attend that meeting. We go to this event with these people. It's not bad, but it's not all there is either. It's not all there is. There needs to be room for creation, for making something brand new. Because when you create an experience, you're calling forth your love. You're calling forth an energy from your heart. And it really is a process that humans benefit from. And I do believe that that's what makes us sacred humans, is that we create. Creation is divine. I think when we create things, it's good for us. I think most of us have been taught to look outside for direction, and creation requires us to look inside. Not literally, perhaps, but to look within ourselves for what do we really love? What do I really want? What really turns my crank, and what will I do with that? So, to create what you love because you love it. To create what you love because you can. There's something wonderful about doing that, and that is it's yours. So when it goes well, it's really exciting. And when it doesn't go well, it's still pretty exciting because it's your heart's desire. So create what you really love. Give it a whirl. Create it because you love it. It's not too late to be an actor, an artist, a travel photographer, a carpenter, a pole dancer. You may no longer have to make a living at it, so the pressure's off. And you don't have to explain it to your mom and dad. Maybe you do, but I don't think you do. And you don't have to write your screenplay only on weekends when you're off work and probably too tired. So you've got more energy to devote to whatever this is. Haven't you ever wondered, does retirement have to be babysitting the grandkids? Much as you might love it, maybe that's not full time. Does it have to be Arizona? Maybe you want to train for the Iditarod instead. Maybe you've always wanted to live in New Hampshire or another country. Creating what you love creates an authentic and a lasting outcome. And learning to create that for yourself brings satisfaction that nourishes you, because what you love it's like your children. You love them, you enjoy them, you're interested in them. Even when they're being difficult, you're interested in them and you love them. Your own creation is much the same way. When it's going well, it's fabulous. When it's not going well, it's still pretty darned interesting, and you're pretty curious about it. Your own creations are deeply motivating, and life is engaging when you pursue something you love. You want to get up in the morning. It's enjoyable to think about. It's interesting to talk about and learn about and be about. So our Creator is said to have worked for 6 days out of 7. That's a lot. Creation is a divine quality. There is something inherent in the deep longings for the things that you wanted to do all your life. The things you really, really want. The dreams that scare the bejeebers out of you. Something that gives them that dream quality and makes you sigh and fear facing them squarely. Love and creativity, they're big deals. I urge you to pursue them if you're a mature person. You know what? I urge you to pursue them even if you're not a mature person. Go create something. I'm going to.